What's going on YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and we're going to do a recap for Week 9 in the college football season. And if you're looking for my new top 25 poll, the playoff projections, that's over on the Sports Gaming 1 channel. So there's a link down in the description below if you want to check that out. I was just doing a little experiment to see how the video would do over on that channel, because I was considering moving everything to that channel. I'm probably not going to do it. I'm probably going to keep the non-gaming videos here on this channel. So let's get right into it with this week's recap. We start with the Thursday night game, Stanford at Oregon State. 15-14, Stanford wins this one, and it was ugly. This was not a good performance at all by Stanford, but they find a way to get it done. They didn't have Bryce Love in this game. Maybe with him they don't struggle so much. I don't know. It was just a strange performance, strange game. Oregon State really played well, but in the end, Stanford made enough plays on that final drive to get the win. So big win for them to survive that one. It's tough to win those games on the road on Thursday nights. Memphis takes care of business against Tulane, 56-26. This Memphis team, I think, is a real contender to be that Group of 5 team. I think it could come down to a potential rematch between Memphis and Central Florida in the American Championship, or possibly Memphis versus South Florida if South Florida can beat UCF later on in the season. I don't normally show the Group of 5 teams, but if they're in the top 25, I'm going to start showing those games here on these videos. Wisconsin at Illinois. Wisconsin struggles 24-10. This Illinois team is not very good. So this one was a disappointment, I think, for Wisconsin. It's why another reason why I've got them not in the top 5 in my playoff projections for how I think the playoff committee is going to rank the teams. I'm not that high on Wisconsin. They still really have not beat anybody, but they'll have their opportunities. They got Iowa and Michigan coming up. They win those games, they'll be up there if they continue to win. Miami at North Carolina. Miami barely survives. It almost looked like North Carolina was the better team in this game. Some missed opportunities in the red zone for North Carolina. They faked a field goal. They went for it on 4th down. Boy, if they could have it back and kick a couple of field goals there, it would have been a different game. But Miami finds a way to win. That's what they've been doing all season long. And as long as they keep winning, they will take care of business and get into the playoffs. But it's going to be tough with Virginia Tech and Notre Dame coming up. Well, let's go to the next game. We got Oklahoma State at West Virginia. Oklahoma State looked like the better team here. Their defense, for the most part, played really well. I was impressed with that, with their defense. I knew their offense would put up points. West Virginia does get 39, but a lot of it was late in the game. They had, I think, a pick 6 in there as well. So I was very impressed with Oklahoma State. I think they are a serious contender to get to the playoffs if they can win out. They'll have Oklahoma this coming weekend and potentially a rematch with TCU in the Big 12 championship game. So everything's right there in front of them. Penn State at Ohio State. Boy, it looked like Penn State was going to win this game. They really came out on fire, took a big lead early, but Ohio State comes back, and JT Barrett may have just, this could be the game we look back to and say, this is the game that won him the Heisman Trophy. Yes, I think this game definitely puts him up there among the top teams, or top players, I should say. That was a big game for Ohio State. Huge win, keeps their playoff hopes alive. Penn State is not out of it. Don't count them out just yet. Georgia comes out and absolutely annihilates Florida, 42-7. And Florida, they got all kinds of problems now. Jim McElwain looks like he may be done there. They're talking about trying to fire him. So maybe their heads wasn't in this game. I thought they would play a little bit better. I thought Georgia would win, and at least by a couple of touchdowns. But this was an absolutely terrible performance by Florida. And hats off to Georgia. They continue to get it done, and they are just looking like a dominant team right now. TCU upset by Iowa State, 14-7. What is going on with Iowa State? I mean, this is how do you turn it around that fast? I don't know. It's pretty crazy. But Iowa State now controls their own destiny in the Big 12. If they win out, they'll be in that Big 12 championship game. So, again, it's just you never know what you're going to expect in college football. And this was a huge win for Iowa State. TCU's playoff hopes may be gone. I don't know. We'll see. They're not quite out of it just yet. North Carolina State at Notre Dame. Huge win for Notre Dame. Josh Adams maybe put himself up there at the top of the Heisman race as well. This was a disappointing performance by NC State. I thought they'd play a lot better. I thought this was a game that would come down to the wire. But Notre Dame is looking like possibly a top 5 team right now as they continue to win. And they're building a pretty nice resume with Miami coming up So watch out for Notre Dame. I think they control their own destiny to get to the playoffs. UCLA at Washington. Washington takes it 44-23. They finally get back on pace. Josh Rosen was knocked out of this game. But still, this was a nice win for Washington. They've got to find some wins somewhere. Some quality wins coming down the stretch. They'll have Stanford and Washington State. But even with the one loss, it's going to be tough for me to see Washington getting into the playoffs, even if they win out. The Pac-12, I think, is pretty much eliminated already. Just too weak of a schedule for Washington. But you never know. Could see chaos down the stretch. Michigan State Northwestern, a game that went to 3 overtimes. This was maybe the best game of the weekend besides that Ohio State-Penn State game. Northwestern gets it done 39-31. They get the interception late. And Northwestern is one of those teams that really struggled to start the season, but they are coming along now and looking like the team that I thought they would be in the preseason. I had this as a top 25 team. They let me down a little bit, but they're getting it together now. Big win for them. Tough loss for Michigan State. That pretty much eliminates them from playoff contention. South Florida and Houston, what a game this one was. You saw the Houston quarterback run it in late in the game, a little bit of a risky play. I was watching the end of this one. That was an exciting finish. Houston eliminates South Florida from the unbeaten teams. Gets this one 28-24. And Houston 5-3 now, but they've played a tough schedule, so they're a very good 5-3 team. South Florida, really, that's a tough loss for them. And that really opens the door now for Central Florida. They become the clear favorite team, a group of 5 team, as they still stay unbeaten. It was against Austin Peay. This was an FCS opponent, but still 73 points, pretty impressive. And they've got that big one over Memphis where they won, I can't remember how many points they won by, but it was a blowout. So Central Florida right now looks like the team that's going to get that New Year's Six bowl bid out of the group of 5 teams. Duke against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, a little shaky in this one, but they take care of business, 24-3. Duke's not a bad team, so this is a decent win for Virginia Tech. They got the big one against Miami coming up, and boy, is that going to be a huge, huge game. It doesn't get any bigger than this. It's going to decide the division and potentially a playoff spot, because I think both of these teams are still alive if they win out. So huge, huge games coming up this weekend between Virginia Tech and Miami. Let's go now. Georgia Tech at Clemson. Clemson wins it 24-10. Their defense was dominant. They were able to stop that triple option. Offense kind of, they came out fast, but then I don't really know what was going on with them, but they got a little conservative and didn't run up the score or anything. It was a rainy night, so maybe they just wanted to play it safe. But they win it comfortably, 24-10. And let's see, they got NC State coming up, so that's going to be another huge game on the road. That's going to be tough for Clemson. Next is Texas Tech at Oklahoma. Oklahoma 49-27. It was close at halftime. I think it was an 8-point game. Texas Tech hung in there for a while in the second half, but Oklahoma does pull away. Baker Mayfield, 281 yards, 4 touchdowns. Big win for Oklahoma, as they now look like a team that could get into the playoffs. If it comes down to Oklahoma versus Ohio State for a playoff spot, and Oklahoma is the Big 12 champs, Ohio State's the Big 10 champs, you go head-to-head. Oklahoma won that game, so they may not be up there right now, but they still have a big opportunity to get back up into the playoffs. Washington State against Arizona. This one was close in the fourth quarter, but Arizona pulls away late. 58 points. Khalil Tate at quarterback for Arizona has just come in and really sparked this team. They have USC coming up next weekend in a game that could decide the Pac-12 South. So watch out for Arizona as they knock Washington State out of the playoff race. Don't know if they really had that great of a chance anyways. Still in the Pac-12 now, USC, a huge win over Arizona State on the road, 48-17. And it's just like last year. This team, struggled early in the season, but really got it together late in the season. And this could be the start to a big run here for USC. They bounced back from that loss to Notre Dame. They control their own destiny in the Pac-12 South. So we'll see if they can get it done. Could potentially see another USC-Washington game. Well, they didn't play in the Pac-12 championship last year. They played during the regular season. So those are all the teams in the top 25. We're going to quickly go through the rest of the games in the Power 5. Boston College blows out Florida State 35-3. This Florida State team is just looking terrible right now. Both of the, Central Florida and South Florida are looking better than Florida State and Florida. You wouldn't expect that, but Boston College really has some momentum. They continue to roll. Wake Forest over Louisville 42-32. big win for Wake Forest. John Wolford, 461 yards, 5 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson was good again, but he just can't win these games by himself. Louisville's defense is really, really bad right now, and giving up 42 points is not going to get it done. Virginia at Pitt. Pitt finally gets a win in the conference. They're up to 4-5. Watch out for them. Or was that their second conference win? I can't remember for sure. I think that was. I thought they were still 0-for in the conference. But anyways, they win at 31-14. Virginia has really fallen off after the 5-1 start. I was never really buying them being that good of a football team though. Texas over Baylor, 38-7. Shane Buechele comes in there and plays well. This is a big win for Texas. I still think Texas is a very good football team. I know they're 4-4. Or maybe not a very good football team, but I think they're a solid football team, a team that's capable of winning, almost against anybody. So watch out for them down the stretch. Kansas State struggles to put Kansas away, but they do get the win here, 30-20. You would, hope for a much better win there for Kansas State. They've really struggled this year, a team that I had high hopes for, but it has not worked out that way this season. Let's go now to Michigan against Rutgers. They get it 35-14. Peters comes in, plays pretty well for Michigan. Maybe they found their quarterback, and that could be scary if they, get this offense rolling. They've got Ohio State at the end of the year. They got Wisconsin coming up. So we could see Michigan making some noise here at the end of the season. Indiana at Maryland. Maryland takes it 42-39. Two teams that have been up and down all season long. I tell you what, Indiana may be the best 3-5 team in all of college football. They've had a lot of close losses, and they had another one here on the road. High-scoring game, but Maryland comes up with a stop. 4th down stop with 54 seconds to play, and they get the win. Iowa over Minnesota, 17-10. Iowa just continues to find ways to win football games. They're up to 5-3 now. This was, not the best performance, but hey, as long as you're winning football games, I think they'll give Wisconsin a good run for their money coming up very soon. So we'll see how that game goes. Nebraska upsets Purdue. This is on my upset alert video. I had a feeling this one was going to happen, and it did. Nebraska's just, they still got talent on this football team. I know they've struggled to start this season, but they're not a horrible team. I mean, they're not a great team, but they're not a horrible team either. Purdue, this is a tough one for them as they now fall to 3-5. Cal, I guess you could say, was upset by Colorado here. Colorado had really struggled the last few weeks, but they get it done, 44-28. Cal's another team. Really, both of these teams, they've looked good at times and horrible at times. You just can't figure these college football teams out these days. You never know what you're going to get. Utah, here's another perfect example. Oregon has looked pretty bad, and they come out and beat Utah 41-20. Utah's looked good at times, then they look bad at times. The whole Pac-12 is really like this. I mean, how good are any of these teams? It depends on which week it is. Some weeks they look like top 10 teams. The next week they don't even look like top 25 teams. So it's very strange there in the Pac-12. Arkansas, this is a heartbreaking loss for Ole Miss. It looked like they were going to win it easily. A 24-point lead. Arkansas comes back, wins it with the late field goal. A big win for Arkansas. They finally get their first conference win. And we're going to finish up here in the SEC now. Vanderbilt against South Carolina. South Carolina didn't look great, but they got the win, 34-27. Kyle Shermer, 333 yards, 4 touchdowns. A good performance by him, but it was not enough. South Carolina's got Georgia coming up. Do they have any chance? I don't know. That may be the only team that could beat Georgia, or that has even a tiny chance against Georgia besides Auburn here as we close out the season. Well, they play Kentucky too, so we'll see what happens. But Georgia seems to be like they're on a clear path to the SEC championship. Missouri defeats UConn 52-12. Where was this game? I don't know. I don't remember seeing anything on this game, highlights or anything. So yeah, I don't know what channel this was on or anything, but Missouri does roll there. Mississippi State, this was a big win for them over Texas A&M, 35-14. Mississippi State's looking like probably the 4th best team in the SEC. Texas A&M maybe not as good as we thought they were. And that really hurts Alabama's resume as well, because Texas A&M was their best win, and they're now 5-3 after a tough loss to Mississippi State. Tennessee at Kentucky, our final game here. Tennessee hits the Hail Mary to win the game. Oh, but they come up 3 yards short. Kentucky survives. This was kind of an ugly game. 4 fumbles for Kentucky, and Tennessee couldn't capitalize. Kentucky still found a way to win. This was a nice win for Kentucky. Already bowl eligible in October. We'll see how they close things out. Potentially, you know, maybe they pull off that upset against Georgia. Maybe they beat Louisville. Could this team maybe go get 9 or 10 wins? It's very possible. They've just been finding ways to win these football games. But that's it for this week's recap. Again, if you want to see the top 25, our playoff projections for how they're going to rank the teams, it's over on the Sports Gaming 1 channel. I'll put a link in the description below if you want to check it out. But for now, we're going to put the rest of the videos this week on this channel, so don't worry, they'll be here. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports YouTube channel.